Hello, today a video, an ad hoc, tough, tell a friend video on slow and fast thinking versus consciousness, and consciousness as explained by Eckhard Tolle. This is actually one of my favorite subjects, and when you think about slow or fast thinking, so it's the thinking stuff. Now the thinking, the result, and because this is a process, it goes from slow to fast thinking, and I will show that later after this intro. Then you will go into fast thinking, and fast thinking is, so the result of maybe studying for many years is the sentence, I know. So somebody asks you a question and you say, I know. I don't have to think slowly about it. I just know it. Now, opposite to that, we have consciousness. Consciousness. And consciousness is the absent side, or the negation of thoughts. So there are no thoughts. And so we can say the result for my brain is, and I think that is what Eckhart Tolle also says, is I am. It's as if I would be an engine of a car, I would be in idle mode. I have nothing to do. So that is idle. That's fine. That's a perfect state. I like this state. I'm idle. But now let's go to something, what disturbs my consciousness? So what can disturb my consciousness? And now there is one thing that could be external or internal. And when you talk about external, it could be a loud voice, voice or smell, or somebody hits you, something like that. So it disturbs you. So conscious is idling, but now somebody is pressing the accelerator, stopping your engine, stopping the I don't know, the pistons or the crankshaft or whatever. So he disturbs you. The other thing is internal, and so I would call them internal triggers. And for internal triggers, to explain them, I need to use my favorite brain model, which is intellect, limbic system, and reptile brain. And now I would say when I idle, all these brains are fine. And I would say usually happy. So happy idling, so no stress. So no hormones, no stress hormones in your body. You're idling. And now the thing is, it's a little bit, now you have a trigger coming in. You have these triggers. So something somewhere arrives. And I would compare it to, like, if you have a pack of dogs, so you have dogs. And you will have a leader. And the leader is here, the limbic system. You're the lead dog. And another dog, one of the lower level dogs, he will see something and he will bark. And now if you are a well-educated dog, you will bark. So you bark here, and the leader will say, okay, now shut up. Okay, I heard you. Fine, I will take care of that. And now we come to the thing where, so we are in this situation where the leader says, and here's the limbic system, could say in our conscious mode, I don't care, thank you. And the thought goes away. The external or internal kind of disturbance goes away. And now the thing is, obviously, the leader, or here the limbic system, I come in a short time to that, will now decide, if you look at that, we are in the now, And when thinking, we go into the future and we go in the past. Why do we go into the future? Well, we think, how do we want it to be? So we are actually thinking here in the present, and we take a look at the past to know how it was there. So we always switch between future, what could happen, the past, what has happened, and then we develop something. And this is the thinking process. So here we are actually thinking. And so we come to the slow and fast thinking. We are now not in consciousness. So what I now want to go in, put a little bit more space here. I draw this 3-brain model here. And so we have the intellect, the limbic system, and the reptile brain. And here the boss. He is the limbic system is the boss. You can compare it to a manager. And a manager knows who can do it. So the manager doesn't do anything himself, but what it does is it asks, in general, his slave, the intellect, give me an answer. And I'll come to that immediately before dealing with the reptile brain. So the reptile brain, if there is fear, fear, sex, hunger, something that is of immediate action required, because otherwise you die. So what a good boss manages this. And that means it takes the precautions that the reptile brain, and especially in our world, the reptile brain hardly ever has to do something, because the boss has already foreseen that there should be no fear, sexual contacts. Also, we know how we behave. We have specific, procedures. Also for hunger, we have the fridge full. We go eat before we actually get angry, and so on. So the boss manages the reptile kind of brain. So I would also say, please always try to get the reptile out of this equation. Now, this is so to say, the boss, a good manager, does not want the reptile to do anything. And under a good boss, the reptile doesn't have to do a lot, hardly anything. So now I want to talk about the thinking process, about this slow and fast thinking, because what happens is, if the boss doesn't know, he gets a question, so question. And so the question is given to the limbic system, because the limbic system decides about the energy, the importance, and so on. So you get a question, and it will ask, the limbic system will ask the intellect, give me an answer. And it gives the intellect a lot of time, maybe minutes or hours or days. And the intellect then comes up, and now this is the important part, it comes up by constructing a model for this question. So there is a model, and this is done with this, with this thinking in future, past, and so on. How does this behave? This is the model. It builds a model that can serve as a blueprint for any question that is similar to this question. Not all models, so you might have here thousands of models in your brain, and you pick that model that actually serves. So the limbic system picks that model, because the slow thinking, so this is slow and this part is fast. So this is the fast thinking part of the intellect, and this is the slow, rational, serially thinking about many things, putting things together, questioning, looking up, and so on. And then it comes up building this model, one of the many models. And now the boss, the manager, knows that it just has to go into this model, and then he has the answer immediately. So while the initial question before having this model may take greater 1 hour, afterwards it will take smaller than 1 second, because within a few clock cycles of the brain, there will be a quite good answer with hundreds of inputs that you already, here the intellect has already put into this model, the connections to these associations, connections to these other associations, so that you get an answer out of out of this model. And that is the brilliance of the fast thinking. So you have, but this is thinking, this is not consciousness. So because consciousness could mean that I just know, but take that with a grain of salt, because I haven't thought about that. So it could be that consciousness is everything that is kind of, everything is under control and I'm calm, and this is this thing, happy, no stress. But it is definitely not something that has to do with thinking. And I'm going to think about let's say the connection between consciousness and thinking, but I think I covered that already here quite a lot. So maybe that is already kind of the answer. If there is thinking, there's no consciousness, so they are exclusive, and consciousness can only be there if I'm kind of happy, no stressed, relaxed, and so on. Because if I'm not happy, then I will have stress hormones. That will mean there will be a lot of triggers in the intellect, but especially in the reptile brain, that always triggers my limbic system to actually break out of my consciousness, and always says, please go into thinking. And so that means you need to have a very also on a hormone level in the body, no stress environment. And that was it. I hope you enjoyed the video. Comments, as always, I'm open for discussion. Thank you very much, and talk to you next time. Bye bye.